Hey everyone, Oscar here with Samy's Camera, and today we're taking a first look at the new Sony FX2. So let's break it down. What's new? What's the difference if you've been thinking about picking up an FX3? And why this might be the cinema camera you've been looking for. So let's talk about it. The FX2 is built around Sony's 33 megapixel full frame Exmor R sensor paired with the Bion Z XR processor. It gives you 7K oversampled 4K with full pixel readout and no pixel binning. You're getting over 15 stops of dynamic range when you shoot log, and Sony gives you all the tools to take advantage of it, like Cine EI Quick, and flexible ISO modes. The camera supports 422 10-bit internal recording, 16-bit RAW over HDMI and an external recorder, and unlimited recording in 4K 60p thanks to the internal cooling. You can also dial in your look with up to 16 custom LUTs from a memory card or the Creator Cloud. And this is going to be super useful if you're trying to match cameras or dialing in a constant look. Now, the exterior of the FX2 is very similar to the FX3, which I love. The cage-free design makes it super easy to rig out or run handheld, and it's got a ton of '20 mounting holes to add accessories, and it now has two on the bottom of the body for your quick release plate. And looking at the back of the camera, Sony did change the bottom layout, adding the home button, which by default opens the Big 6 interface. There's also a new still and video switch that will save your settings individually, and a ton of customizable function buttons spread throughout the camera. Now, unlike the FX3, the FX2 has a single CF Express Type A card slot that doubles as a UHS 2 and a secondary UHS 2 slot. The I/O consists of a full HDMI port, USB micro port, and USB Type-C for charging, file transfer, and use as a webcam. Now, I found it interesting that the microphone jack and the headphone jack don't have covers on them, and when I asked Sony about this, they explained that it's because of the advances in the technology. They're no longer worried about these ports being open to the elements, which is pretty cool, and we'll have to test it out. But if you're still worried about it, you can always throw some gaffer tape on it. Now, the FX2 will be available in a kit with the optional audio handle, and this is the same as the one found on the FX3 and gives you access to 2 additional XLR inputs with available phantom power and a 3.5mm stereo microphone jack. Now, the handle also unlocks 24-bit audio recording via the digital hot shoe, and if you're shooting documentaries, live events, or social media content, this is going to give you more options in post-processing. Now, unlike the FX3, Sony has added an angle adjustable OLED viewfinder with approximately 3.68 million dots, and as an avid FX3 shooter myself, this was a big welcome. Anyone who's ever shot outdoors on a sunny day will understand how awesome it is to have an EVF. The LCD monitor is also fully articulating and houses a new feature. The addition of the Big 6 interface, inherited from the Cine Alta cameras, gives users a simple display that helps make quick changes to settings on the fly and displays critical information. The FX2 supports Anamorphic desqueeze, so you can properly monitor widescreen projects in 1.3 and 2x desqueeze. And in addition to active stabilization, there's now dynamic active stabilization, which is a lot smoother when handheld shooting. Power-wise, it runs on the same NP FZ100 battery that, according to Sony, gives you around 100 minutes of real shooting time. The body has a dust and weatherproof design, making it perfect for any adventure. Log mode for stills is also available now, so if you're shooting hybrid content, your photo and video work can now live in the same post pipeline. That's a small but meaningful feature, and perfect if you're shooting images maybe for a mood board or thumbnails for a YouTube video. Now, one of the biggest updates coming from an FX3 shooter is the autofocus. The FX2 uses Sony's AI-based real-time recognition autofocus, and it's not just for faces. It can lock onto people, animals, birds, and vehicles, you name it. And in my experience, compared to my FX3, this thing is really sticky and very similar to my Sony A7R V, which I love the autofocus on that. And for those of you who are shooting solo or in fast changing environments, this is gonna be a huge help. And if you're shooting interviews or solo YouTube content, the auto framing feature will crop and track your subject to keep them in frame. So here's the thing, I've been using the FX3 pretty much since it was released. It's been my main camera on tons of projects that we've shot for this channel. And although the FX2 doesn't have the 4K 120, the updated autofocus, high resolution, and EVF put this camera in a place of its own. Now for our test, I wanted to plug this camera in where I would normally use my FX3 to see if it would hold up or if it was better than my FX3. And luckily my friend Stan Moniz hit me up and he was gonna go out and shoot some stuff with the Sony A7R V. So I tagged along and we were shooting storms. So you could imagine the light was ever evolving. We had clouds and then we had sunshine. And at one point it was just like straight sunlight, no clouds. But thanks to the EVF and the autofocus, I felt a little bit more confident when shooting than I normally would with my FX3 and just looking at my LCD, or even, you know, when I'm packed with a separate monitor, like it's still really hard to see. Anybody that's ever shot out in broad daylight understands what I'm talking about. But having these tools in this camera just make it a little bit easier to get your shot and make sure that, well, you're getting what you want to get. And although I do love me some 4K 120, 4K 60p is gonna be good enough for most of us. So with that being said, if you need better low light performance or 4K 120, then the FX3 is still a great option, and I won't be getting rid of mine anytime soon. But if you're already in the Sony ecosystem and you need a video first camera, it's an easy step up. Honestly, it feels like a sneak peek of what the next FX3 might be, and the FX2 is such a well-rounded camera that I'm pumped to see where Sony takes things next. Listen guys, don't sleep on the FX2, and if you're ready to take your production up a level, whether you're a content creator, filmmaker, or building out a small crew, this is definitely the camera that's gonna do that. It's gonna be a great addition to your kit, and if you wanna check it out for yourself, come into one of our Southern California retail locations or visit us online at samys.com. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, leave a comment, and consider subscribing for everything photo and video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.